Bhagavatam ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Ashtaprayasha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki Shunvatam Swakatha Krishna Punyashravana Kirtana Dayantostoya Vadrani Vidunoti Surutsatam From Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 8, Text 16. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Tasyam sa cham oruha karnikayam avasthito lokam apashyamana parikraman yoni vivritta netra chatvari lebhe nudisham mukhani tasyam sachamboruha karnikayam tasyam sachamboruha karnikayam avasthito lokam apashyamana parikramam yomni vivritta netra chatvari leghe nudisham mukhani tasyam sachamboruha karnikayam avasthito lokam apashyamana parikramam yomni vivritta netra chatvari leghe nudisham mukhani
Tasyam sacham boruha karnikayam avasthito lokam apashyamana parikramam yomni vivritta netra chatvari leghe nudisham mukhani
Tasyam sachamboruha karnikayam avasthito lokam apashyamana parikramam yomni vivritta netra chatvari leghe nudisham mukhani tasyam sachamboruha karnikayam avasthito lokam apashyamana
Sammukhane
Chattvare Dishammukhani. Word to word meaning tasyam, in that, saha, Brahma, cha, and anubhava, water, ruha karnikayam, word of the lotus, avasthitaha, being situated, lokam, the world, apashyamanaha, without being able to see, parikraman, circumambulating, yomni, in space, vivrittanetraha, while moving the eyes, chatvari, four, leve, achieve, anudisham, in terms of direction, mukhani, heads. Translation and no problem. Brahma, born out of the lotus flower, could not see the world, although he was situated in the world. He therefore circumambulated all of space, and while moving his eyes in all directions, he achieved four heads in terms of the four directions. Please repeat. Brahma, born out of the lotus flower, could not see the world, although he was situated in the world. He therefore circumambulated all of space, and while moving his eyes in all directions, he achieved four heads in terms of the four directions. There is no purport and so many verses after this also, no purport and very short purport. So we have a different plan today. Since we had a wonderful festival yesterday, Shri Radhashtami, and we are still kind of, because there was so much overflow of the nectar from yesterday, and we are still kind of in that hungover state. So I thought I would take the advantage of that wave which is still there and catch that wave and talk a little bit about Srimati Radharani. Although it's being such an esoteric subject matter, I'm utterly unqualified to do so. But of course I can, by the grace of the Vaishnavas present here, can repeat what I have heard from the different devotees. Before we go into that, interesting in this verse, it says, Brahma, born out of the lotus flower, could not see the world, although he was situated in the world. He therefore circumambulated all of space, and while moving his eyes in all directions, he achieved four heads. Kind of interesting how, very difficult to understand, just by moving your eyes, how you achieve the four heads. Or it's more like the, we have this different philosophies by the evolutionists, or those who believe in evolution, or the Darwin thing, where they say that after certain years you get adaptation, right? What is that word? Evolution, adaptation, and mutate or mutation, something like that to that extent.
Transmutation.
Not exactly, but it just came to my mind because Brahma is kind of perplexed about his existence, and he's circumambulating the world of the lotus which he's born, and probably for so many years that adaptation, that evolution made to having that four heads. Just a speculation. But since we had this wonderful festival yesterday, and I was seeing all these notes posted by probably Usha Mataji all around, and I was reading all these beautiful, wonderful qualities of Srimati Radharani, and how she is expert in so many things, and how she is meek and humble, got stuck here. It says she is cunning right here. And difficult to understand that how Srimati Radharani can be cunning, because when you say cunning, then that word comes deceit. How can you have that cheating propensity or deceit in something who's so transcendental? But we have to understand it in a different dimension, actually, a different paradigm altogether. Because we are not talking of any mundane activities of any mundane boy or girl. We are talking about the sweet pastimes of the Supreme Lord and His internal potency, or Hladini Shakti, the internal energy, Srimati Radharani. And also we have this wonderful reading by Mataji, Nagapatni Mataji. And what was the name of the book you were reading?
Srimati Radharani.
Please. Yeah, I was there at the end part where we had these two different stories, where he's playing the game of dice with all the gopis and with Srimati Radharani, and the last time where he's breaking the pots because he got angry as Radharani ignored him. And we can again say that, how is it that Krishna is getting angry, or how is it that Srimati Radharani is ignoring Krishna? But again, we have to understand it. Although we are unqualified, but the acharyas, the way acharyas explain, we have to understand from their eyes. Then we can understand a bit, because the Kali Yuga memory is short. What is that? Kalavasmi Yugena, Mandas Manda Matayo, Manda Bhagyahi Upadrata. We are being unfortunate because of taking this human body in this particular yuga, because of this, the kala or the effect of the yuga. But nonetheless, all these subject matters can be understood by the pure devotees of the Lord when they explain it to us. And that pastime also actually reminded me, when Krishna is breaking that pot of the gopis back in India, where I grew, metropolitan in Mumbai. Even recently we had this Ganesh Chaturthi or Ganesh festival, which is celebrated all over, mostly in Mumbai. Just like if you go different parts of India, you get different festivals celebrated in great pomp. And in Mumbai we are famous for Ganesh Chaturthi, and in Calcutta, Bengal, we are famous for Durga Puja. Right? So we just had that festival. Actually, it's going on. And then we also celebrate during Janmashtami something called as, it's not just you are in your house or you just be in the temple, but people come all on the street and then they celebrate this festival called Dahi Handi. So Dahi is yogurt and Handi is the pot. Right? So people, they come out on the streets, and what they do, I have a picture right here. Let's see if I can find it. Right here. So what is Krishna doing here? He's gathering all his friends and making all these layers and climbing on the top and breaking this Dahi Handi, right? Dahi Handi. Handi is the pot with Dahi, yogurt. So similar pastime is enacted in the streets of Mumbai every year during Janmashtami, although because of this COVID stuff right now, they don't celebrate in such a major way. But if you see here, right here, now this is, the Handi, let's see. Can you see here? It's all the way on the top, this yogurt part. And this is actually the 5-story building here right on this side. So you can imagine how high that is hung. And they're climbing, they're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Can go up to 10 layers. It may look kind of simple, but if you see, actually these are gymnasts from the gymnasium, and they train all year round just for this one day, so that they can climb all the way top and break this Handi and enact the pastime of Krishna breaking the Dahi pot. And it may seem simple, but if you see on the side, there are all these 2 towers or 2 buildings. And what they are doing is, you cannot see it clearly here, but they are throwing the water balloons. They are throwing water like constantly. So it makes it even harder for people to reach on the top. So many times they just collapse, the whole thing collapses and they fall down, and then again it's a very amazing pastime, that we enact, and very interesting because I grew up watching this every year almost, and you'll be part, with the water balloons in your hand and throw on them so that they, don't. It sometimes takes at least an hour for them to reach on the top and to, break the pot. And then of course there's a reward, and after that, the reward is of course the yogurt, and they also have some prizes because it's not an easy task. So that's the Dahi Handi for all of us, the Dahi Handi festival that we have. So the pastimes of the Lord, they are not ordinary. Just like we say, Krishna is Makhan Chor. So Chor is what? A thief, right? Ordinarily in the mundane world, the thief is being punished. But if you go to Vrindavan, this thief is glorified. Right? Makhan Chor. There are so many beautiful songs about Krishna in this pastime. So I was hearing this very beautiful talk by one devotee. He's a disciple of Srimad, or His Holiness Radha Goswami, and he was quoting, I think this verse is in Mana, Stavamala of Rupa Goswami. And let's see if I can. Before going to this verse, it says that actually in Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says there's this beautiful verse, 3, I think chapter 3, text 5, he says, Nahi kashtit kshanamapi jatu tishtati akarmakrit. That there's not a single moment that the living entities in this material world can sit quiet, in the sense that they're always doing some activity, jatu karmakrit. They're doing some karma, they're doing activities. Right? If you observe everybody, whether it's the living entities in the water or land or in the space or even us human beings, we are always engaged doing something or others, doing some activities, doing some karma. But if we ask the question, what are we doing these activities for? And what would be the answer? Anybody knows the answer? You're doing so many, people, they work hard day and night, go to the job 9 to 5 or make so much money or this and that. So many things we do, but what is the aim, what is the goal of all these activities?
Sense gratification.
Yes, you're closer. I'm looking for one word. You have 2 words.
Money.
Money is money.
Enjoyment.
Yes, enjoyment, or the other name is happiness. You're always looking for sukha. Sukha or happiness. So the sukha or happiness, that's what every living entity, whether it be the living entities inside the water or on the land or be us human beings, they're after happiness. But even after doing all this hard work, if we become successful, though so many people, they're working so hard, and especially here in America, they all after becoming millionaires. And out of so many people wanting to become millionaires, how many actually become millionaires? Right? The percentage is very, very low. So the happiness one, even if that successful person gets some happiness after making all this money, but that happiness is considered as a bindu. What is bindu? Just a drop, right? A drop in the ocean, the happiness. But then, if somebody wants the Sindhu of happiness or the ocean of happiness, then what one has to do? So this verse, it says, actually maybe we can chant this verse, because it's interesting how, step by step it shows. Oops. I'm sorry. Here. Where is it? Anaradhya Radha Padam Bhojam Renum Anashritya Vrindathavim Tat Padankam asambhashya tadbhava gambhira chittam kuta shama sindhu rasasya vagaha. So this is actually from Stavamala by Rupa Goswami, one of the verses. And if you see the last sentence here, actually let's chant this verse, it's very beautiful. Anaradhya radha padam bhojam renum. Naradhya radha padam bhojam renum. Anashritya vrinda tavitat padankam. Rasambhasya tadbhava gambhira chittam. Udashyama sindho rasasya vagaha. So if you see the last line here, it says sindho. So what is that? Sindho, the ocean, and Shama sindho. And Krishna is considered as the ocean. And if we rasasya vagaha, that rasa, that he is the Rasaraj, he is the king of the mellows. And if we get Krishna, then that ultimate happiness or the fullness or the ocean or the sindhu of happiness one can achieve. Shama sindhu rasasya avagaha. Avagaha means to enter that ocean. But then how is it possible? How can we enter that ocean? So the top three lines actually gives the answer. Right? So the first line it says Anaradhya Radha Padam Bhojam Renum. So can anyone speculate on this? There are familiar words here. There's Anaradhya. Yes, Radha is there, of course. And again Radha Padam Bhojam. So Padam Bhojam is the lotus feet. Renum. So what is Renum?
Dust.
Dust of the lotus feet of Radharani. Right. So one of the solution given to attain that sindhu or the ocean of bliss is to take actually aradhya. Aradhya means to worship not the lotus feet of Radharani, but the renum, the dust of the lotus feet from the Radharanis. Right? So Radha Padam Bhojam Renum. But now you will see that it's anaradhya, means that's kind of a negative, it's saying, not worshipping. Right? But if you see how it falls together because the last line is the question, it says, Kuta Shama Sindhu, how? How can you achieve that Shama Sindhu if you are not worshipping the lotus feet or the renum from the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani, then Kuta, how can you achieve? That's the question. Shama Sindhu Rasasya Ugaha. Right? So although it may start with negative, but it's kind of an answer to the question. Radha Padam Bhojama Renu. So the Renu, the dust of the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani is given importance here. And unless and until one gets that dust from a lotus feet, and we know this famous story of how when Krishna had a headache and what he, Narada Muni, right, he went around, because what did Krishna told him? That the headache can be cured only from the dust of the lotus feet of the Braja gopis, the gopis of Vrindavan. Because before even approaching the gopis, of course, Narada Muni went to so many places, right? Even from Brahma to Shiva and everyone, but they were not ready to give they said, oh, how can we, do that? He's the Supreme Lord. We don't want to commit the offenses. But the gopis, without any consideration, immediately they said, yes, take it. Krishna's headache has to be cured. So take it. So this is the mood. Padam Bhojam Renum. And it's interesting, there's one more place where Mukti Devi, the goddess of liberation, she's at one time she's saying to Krishna that you're sending all these people to me, even sometimes there are so many sinful people, and I'm giving them mukti, I'm giving them liberation, but then what about my mukti? How can I get liberation? So what did Krishna answer? Same thing, he says that Padam Bhojam Renum, when the dust from the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani and the gopis or the Brajavadus or the Brajavasis and that dust flies away and hits your mastaka or hits your head, then you will get mukti, you will get liberation. So that's the very interesting quality of the Renu, the Padam Bhoja Renu. And what does the next line says? It says, Anashritya Vrindavim Tat Padankam. So again that word Padankam, because the Vrindavan, the land, the tract of Vrindavan is marked by the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani, because she had so many wonderful pastimes with Sri Krishna, Rasaraj. So one has to take ashraya. Ashraya means one has to take shelter of the land of Vrindavan in order to get the Shyama Sindhu Rasasya Avagahas, to enter that ocean of bliss which is Krishna. And there's one famous story in Braj, they mention about this. There was this one king, I think he was from Rajasthan, and his only son, he went to Vrindavan, he gave up everything. He's a prince, but he gave up everything, all the opulence and everything, and he went to Vrindavan to perform bhakti. But then, actually he even had a guru, Harivamsh Rai, and he took shelter of the guru. But then the king, because he was the only heir, or only, what do you call that? Heir to the kingdom. So he came and begged to his guru that, please let my son go. And the guru said, I'm not holding him, he's free to leave. Just like that incident about Giriraj Maharaj, right? Giriraj Maharaj in Bombay, when he was in Mumbai and Prabhupada, and he took shelter of Prabhupada. And his father came, because his father is a multi-millionaire. And he came and he gave a blank check to Srila Prabhupada. And he said, you put whatever amount you want, but give me back my son. And Prabhupada said, he's free to go. I'm not holding anyone. He can leave. So the similar situation happened here, that this king, he was wanting his son back. And then the guru requested that, you should go because your father wants you, and, that's your duty you have to perform. And the day he left, what he did, this prince, he blackened his face and his entire body, and he proclaimed to all the Brajavasis, and he said that this is the most unfortunate day in my life, because I have to leave this Vrindavan Dham. And the Brajavasis, they have such mood. They say that, if we have to worship Krishna outside Vrindavan, we want Brajesha Krishna, we don't want any other Krishna, right? We don't care about any other Krishna, we don't even want to worship any other Krishna, but only the Shyama Sundar or Brajesha Krishna, that's the only Krishna we want. So one may say they are fanatic, but no, that's the Brajabhava. That's what it says here. It says in the next verse, Asambhasya Tadbhava. So that bhava, that Braj bhava is important. And what is another third qualification? It says Asambhasya, actually Bhashya, it's Bhashya. Asambhasya Tadbhava Gambhira Chittam. So one has to hear the Bhashya, or one has to hear the Katha from Tadbhava. What bhava? Those who have that Braj bhava, that about they are immersed all the time in Braj bhava. So one has to hear the Katha. And how they have to hear? Gambhira Chittam. Very seriously and very sincerely. One has to hear all these topics, or Krishna Katha, or about Radharani, from these pure devotees who have Brajabhava. So then, when we satisfy all these conditions, then what happens? One achieves Shyama Sindhu Rasasya Avagaha. Then one can enter that ocean of Sindhu, that ocean of bliss, the complete happiness. And another thing, we can, if we relate, because it says that, Brahma, just like even in this current verse, Brahma he's kind of perplexed, he's going hither and thither, for millions of years. And even after all that, at the end, what he hears is just a word, right? Tapa. He doesn't even get direct darshan of the Lord. And then same in the case of Lord Shiva, meditating for so many thousands of celestial years, and he can, get only partial darshan of Krishna. Or even Narad Muni is traveling. There's so many devotees they're having to perform such great austerities in order to see or have darshan of Krishna. But then the only, if one does this aradhya radha padam bhujam renum, if one just worships the renum, just the dust of the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani, then easily one can enter these pastimes of Nitya Lila, or the pastimes of Srimati Radha and Krishna. And we can see that in our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, or actually we can, we can boast about it in our Vaishnava Sampradaya, Brahma Madhva Vaishnava Sampradaya, that we know Radha Tattva better than anyone else, right? Because you go all the Sampradayas, they also worship Radha and Krishna, but that's more in awe and reverence, more in opulence, but we know the crust or the gist of it, the Radha Tattva, because if you go even to this day, if you go to Vrindavan, or even in our movement, if you go, the 6 Goswami temples, right? Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Gopinath, Radha Shyamasundar. So what are we starting the names with? Radha. First is Radha, right? Even in Iskcon, I was kind of surprised when I heard it said Radha Parisishwar. I said, oh, what is this Parisishwar? Okay, the Paris, the city, or Radha Nandanishwar, right? The Prabhupada named all these deities. But we have in the beginning, what do we have? Radha. And then, of course, our mantra also has Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. So in the beginning, Radha. And if you go to Vrindavan, even to this day, all these trees throughout the Vrindavan, you'll see they are being painted with Radha Radha, right? And everybody greets with Radhe Radhe. And even when you go from one point to another in the rickshaws, I don't think nowadays, maybe very few those cycle rickshaws. Right now they are being replaced by the electric ones. But then the cycle rickshaws, when you go in the cycle rickshaws, and they have the horn or they have the bell, but they will never ring the bell. And they go in all these crowded streets of Vrindavan, and instead of ringing the bell, they'll say Radhe, 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 right? So that's kind of a horn to get people aside, right? Oh, yeah, the rickshaw is coming, go on the side. So this is how the Vaishnava Sampradaya, Brahma, we can easily boast saying that yes, we know Radha Tattva compared to any other Sampradayas. And it's also, Mahaprabhu has given this Radha Bhav, he has come himself to give this Radha Bhav. And then in that line, Ashraya of Vrindavan, or Ashraya of the Guru, Srila Prabhupada has given all these wonderful translations to all these different texts, because Mahaprabhu also inspired all the Goswamis to recover or reclaim all the lost temples in Vrindavan Dham. And yesterday I was actually, Mataji was explaining to Bennett's mother about the deities here on the altar, and at one point she explained about how Srila Prabhupada, and a very sweet explanation and very simple but very profound. She just said about, I never heard such simple and profound explanation about Panchatattva. You were explaining yesterday, right? And then she came to Prabhupada and she said, oh yes, he's a transcendental personality, and he showed us, because we gave up everything and we came to him, we surrendered to him.
We ran after him.
Yes, because of his example, right?
Everything and followed him.
Right. And you said at one point, and we couldn't cope up with him. He would walk, and he would walk faster than us, right? And wonderful, because we are carrying this same mood of service. Prabhupada at that age of 70 plus, he's giving up all that comfort. He was very comfortably sitting in Vrindavan performing his bhajan, but why he had to come all the way here, right? Just to carry this message, this mood of service, or devotional or loving service to Srimati Radharani and Krishna, and he has brought us, she mentioned this, he brought us everything. He got the deities, he got the Tulsi plant, right? So he gave us everything. He has given us so much of treasure, and it's our duty that we is the word, we nourish that treasure, or we take care of that treasure and share that treasure. So I'm very thankful, or actually we are very thankful to have such great association of all the senior Vaishnavas here. And we hope to have the continued association of the Vaishnavas and always immerse in these beautiful pastimes of Srimati Radharani and Krishna, with all these wonderful festivals, with all the devotees working so hard to put up this festival. So I'm very utterly thankful to all the wonderful devotees for giving us this wonderful experience. And I would like to end here. If anyone wants to add or comment, most welcome. Is it alright?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai,
Jai.
Srimati Radharani ki jai. Samaveda